We will. Welcome to the regular meeting of the City of Sugar Land City Council. A little bit about our agenda tonight. In a minute, Bridget Young, our council member, is going to do the invocation followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. After that, I'll step down in the front and we'll have some recognitions and we'll go through that and then we'll go through our regular business. So she's in her purse looking for her glasses. Are you ready?
Yes.
All right.
Thank you. You are invited to pray with me. Thank you for all the blessings you have bestowed on our city, dear Lord. Thank you for our talented workforce who work diligently so Sugarlanders can enjoy a great quality of life. As we gather here tonight, we are reminded of the talent and quality our residents bring forth to enhance our city. We ask your guidance tonight as we work to serve the residents of Sugar Land, and we pray that each council member will carry their responsibilities with dignity and honor. And clearly, dear Lord, please watch over all our first responders as they work selflessly to keep us safe. It is in your precious name we ask these things. Amen.
Amen.
Please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We've got some very special recognitions tonight. I'm going to start first with Boy Scout Troop 731, and if you all would please stand. And the troop leaders are Kavita and Sean Self. There's 20 Boy Scouts. This particular troop has been around for 25 years, sponsored by the Exchange Club, one of the oldest troops in Sugar Land. To date, they've had over 100 Eagle Scouts. They come out of Clements, Dulles, Kerr, Baines, Sartartia, Quail Valley Middle, and Lagos Prep. So if we could recognize you all, if we could go, each of you individually, state your name and the troop number and the badge you're working on.
My name's Connor Self. I'm the senior patrol leader for Troop 731. I'm here working on my communications merit badge, and I'm a Life Scout.
Jesse Disney. I'm ASPL, assistant senior patrol leader. I'm here working on my communications merit badge, and I'm a Scout Scout.
I am Jonathan Carawan. I'm working on my communications merit badge. I'm an instructor, and I'm a Life Scout.
My name is Sammy DiMaselli. I'm a Star Scout and an ASPL, Assistant Senior Patrol Leader, and I'm a Star Scout.
My name is Abel John. I'm currently a Life Scout, and I work as an instructor.
I'm Sean Self. I'm the Assistant Scout Master for the troop, and we really appreciate the time that to help these boys out?
Team Fam, I'm a patrol leader and I am a first class.
I'm Sean Perek. I am a patrol leader. I'm working on my citizenship in the community merit badge, and I'm a Life Scout.
I'm Art Shaw. I'm going to do my merit badge is community, and I'm doing this class.
My name is Joshua Coe. I'm the patrol leader, and I'm working on communications and citizenship in the community, and I'm a second class scout.
I'm Joshua Linsky. I am an instructor. I'm working on the communications merit badge, and I am a Star Scout.
Kavita.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, City Council. We're very proud to represent the values of scouting. We feel very strongly that the boys do a great job on that. We're grateful for the chance for them to see you at work. So thank you very much.
Thank you all for coming tonight. Our next guest, Miss Catherine Huang, was brought to us by Council Member Carol McCutcheon. And I'd ask Catherine if you go ahead and come down. And then if I know your mom's here, I know Naomi, Frank, others are here, if you all would like to come down with her. Yeah, that's typically what happens. And we're going to play a brief video, and then I'll do an introduction and a certificate of recognition. Catherine's in the 4th grade pianist. She has played at Carnegie Hall. She's been recognized in the International Music Academy Student Showcase Performance, where she did play at Carnegie Hall. She goes to Fort Bend Christian Academy, and since the 1st grade, I think, has been playing piano. Matthew Loudermilk, and I don't think Matthew could be here tonight. It's his piano studio that she's trained at in the International Music Academy in January of 2018. She was selected to represent the International Music Academy in their Student Showcase concert at Carnegie Hall in New York last fall, which is an extraordinary achievement. Catherine, congratulations. We've got a certificate of recognition for you to Catherine Huang. This certificate of recognition is presented to Catherine Huang, a young, successful musician, in recognition of her performance at Carnegie Hall, one of the most eminent music venues in the world. Catherine is a pianist who attends Fort Bend Christian Academy in Sugar Land and participates in the elementary music program. She joined Matthew Loudermilk's piano studio at the International Music Academy in January of 2018, made wonderful progress, and this fall was selected to represent IMA in their Student Showcase concert in New York. Congratulations to you on not only your piano performance, but in many, many, many years of performance and accomplishment as a pianist.
It is a great honor for me to be here today, recognized by City of Sugar Land. I would like to take the opportunity to thank my piano teacher, Dr. Matthew Loudermilk. He is not here because he is teaching, but I know that he knows how much I appreciate and respect him. He has always taught me how to play every note professionally because every note has an important part to play in a piece. He's very strict. A few times I would forget part of my homework, and he would say, "Catherine, this is going to be your last class here." Well, I know that he wants the best for me. I would like to thank my mom. No matter how tired she was always sitting in her seat in front of the piano every day, and she would say, "Catherine, it's time to calm down and practice." I would also like to thank Ms. Meyer, principal of Fort Bend Christian Academy. I have been attending Fort Bend Christian Academy since first grade. Ever since I joined, she's been encouraging me and supporting me, and I am very grateful for that. Last of all, I would like to thank City of Sugar Land, my hometown, and the place that I love. I've always attended the kite festivals at Memorial Park. My dog Beta loves the dog park. We take him there every weekend, and he's always excited to make new friends. So thank you everyone again for encouraging me and supporting me. Thank you everyone.
Catherine, you want to get a picture? Carol. Council.
I wanted to just go out to you, Catherine. Congratulations. And it's her birthday today.
Thank you. Congratulations. There you are. I was looking around for you. I didn't know where you were. James, could you come down front, please? For those of you that don't know James Patterson, he was my commissioner, our commissioner, for 20 years. He served not only this county, but before that, he was in our school district. He joined in native Texan, grew up in central town of Normandy. After moving to Sugar Land, he began his career as a teacher and a coach at Dulles Junior High School. He went on to teach and coach at Dulles High School, where he became the assistant principal in 1975 and the principal in 1984. He then became principal of Elkins High School in 1992, retiring from the school district in 1998, at which time he ran for county commissioner and served for 20 distinguished years. I can tell you, I've served with James on the Transportation Policy Council. I've served with him as a council member, now as a mayor. There's no one that I've ever been around or been associated with that does his job with such honesty, integrity, and transparency than James Patterson. And it's a special, it's a special tribute, I think, tonight for him. It's a special privilege for me to be able to recognize him in front of all of you. Let me read a certificate of recognition. Certificate of recognition is presented to James Patterson in recognition of his many years of service to Fort Bend County and the city of Sugar Land. Having served his community as Commissioner of Fort Bend County Commissioners Court Precinct 4 for the past 20 years, Commissioner Patterson has overseen major Precinct 4 projects such as the Ditch H expansion, established the Fort Bend County Freshwater Supply District Number 2, was involved with the University of Houston Sugar Land expansion, and served as the chairman of the Houston-Galveston Area Council's Transportation Policy Council. James has been deeply involved with the ARC for many years, and he and Mrs. Patterson, Mary Jo, have served honorably in the Rotary Club of Sugar Creek, were 2008 Humanitarians of the Year, and has been an advocate for all levels of education in Fort Bend County. Matter of fact, at the last legislative session, you know, James was instrumental in helping me understand the public funding education gap. And we, Sugar Land, me personally as mayor, we lobbied very hard, as did James, as did the county judge and many others in the state of Texas. And it looks, keep our fingers crossed, but it looks like that's going to be one of the initiatives that gets accomplished during this legislative session. And it's because of people like this gentleman right here that that's going to get done. So it's a real privilege to honor you tonight. Okay. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you all. I don't think I need the microphone, as at least one person over here, former school teacher and former assistant principal sitting on this side, and ex-students out here. It's a cafeteria day. The only problem I might have is some of you I see double, because thanks to the fire chief there and the police chief, your ambulance picked me up the 21st as I fell off the roof. So, you know, you leave one area and you land in another, but really do appreciate the council and all the wonderful things you do. You don't get many thank yous. People talk about public service. I've been in the public eye for 53 years, but I don't consider it public service. I got paid for it. These folks up here don't get paid for it. So we always want to thank our true public servants. Sugar Land has been a wonderful place to live, raise a family, be a part of the community. We've been in here, as Joe said, since 1965. When we came here, you had one charge account. No matter what you wanted in Sugar Land, you had one charge account. It was perfect world. That world is still great and wonderful. We all have to continue to work together. We, as a team, we make a positive difference. And I've gotten a lot of credit for lots of things that a lot of people have done in this community. And I want to thank you, and I want to thank the City Council for this honor today. Thank you so much.
Yes, sir. We all got to do a picture. And y'all, James' family, his sister Ann Smith's here. He's got a lot of friends. Anybody that wants to come down and get a picture with James and with council, come on down. We got plenty of room.
If you were going to an auction, I'd always be looking at these four ladies to take care of that low bid, all right?
He did not tell his family this was happening, so he's not out there.
He's pretty shy when it comes to being recognized, so.
They all have jobs.
All right, 1, 2, 3. One more. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm about to say, there's a lot of us working to make sure you do something before we lose that experience. Our next guest tonight is one of our very own. Steve, if you and Wendy'd come down. Many of you know Steve Griffith. He's our first assistant city manager, and his wife, Wendy. They've been part of our team, an integral part of our team here at the City of Sugar Land for, I think it's been 13 years. But really, he served in public service for 43 years. He's a Houston area native, began his public service career at the University of Houston Central Campus as a patrol officer in 1976, and I didn't know that. Later, with the City of Bel Air, Chief of Police in the City of West University, Chief of Police for the City of San Marcos, where he was instrumental in the design of the Advanced Law Enforcement Rapid Response Training Project, and served as Executive Director until 2005, which is when we had the privilege of having him serve as our police chief. During the time he was chief, we had a 16.7% drop in the crime rate from 2005 to 2007. And Sugar Land was selected America's 5th safest city in 2007. He's been highly involved in the community, serving on the Fort Bend Council on Substance Abuse, an active member, and I mean active member of the Sugar Land Exchange Club. 25 years of involvement with the Special Olympics in Texas, serving on the board of directors, where he's currently on his second term as chair. He was promoted to assistant city manager in 2009 and to first assistant city manager in 2014. As I said before, he served 43 years in public service, 13 and a half of those with the city of Sugar Land. Today is a special day for us to recognize his service to all of us as citizens of Sugar Land, but also to recognize Wendy and her service, because I can tell you there's nobody that's more active with our police department than Wendy Griffith. And I know they've planned for this for a long time. I know I've been harassing him for a long time about what he's going to do, but I have no doubt that wherever you guys go, you're going to have an extraordinary impact. We want you to know that this is always your home, and you guys are always welcome back here. Let me read a fancy proclamation, and you're like Patterson, you're not much for fancy proclamations. Certificate of recognition to Steve Griffith. This certificate of recognition is presented to Steve Griffith in recognition of his incredible 43 years in law enforcement and public service, including 13 and a half years in the city of Sugar Land. Steve is a champion of leadership development, accountability, and throughout his career he has placed high value on innovation, cultivating talent, rewarding hard work, and retaining quality staff. His leadership in the Sugar Land Police Department has resulted in numerous departmental distinctions, including the city selection as America's 5th safest city in 2007. And as I said earlier, a 16% drop in the crime rate after becoming police chief. His active community service, far-reaching board positions, Board of Commissioners for the Texas Commission on Law Enforcement, Officer Standards in Education, Fort Bend Council on Substance Abuse, Sugar Land Exchange Club, and an incredible 25 years of service with the Special Olympics of Texas. We wish you and Wendy all the best in retirement, and I know you're not going to retire, so I can go ahead and give this to you because we're going to see you around anyway.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Thank you very much.
All right, 1, 2, 3. One more.
Thank you. Congratulations, Mike. Okay, bye-bye. You know, just one final thing. You know, these last two recognitions for public service are really some of the giants in our community. I mean, these men and their families have given extraordinarily to us. It's what makes not only Sugar Land but Fort Bend County different than other places. We'll look now to young people like Catherine that'll step up and serve on city council, maybe become mayor one day, maybe commissioner and county judge, maybe governor. But that's what it takes to make a difference in your community, is to get involved. And nobody exemplifies that more than these two gentlemen. right, getting down to business. We're in the public comment part. This is reserved for anybody that would like to make a comment about any of the items on the agenda. It's limited to only those items on the agenda. We'll waive the requirement, and we'll limit it to 3 minutes each. Is there anyone that would like to comment about any of the items on the agenda? Okay. I'm going to go ahead and move up item number 5 if the council doesn't have a problem. It's 5 appointments. 5A, consideration of and action on 4 appointments to the Sugar Land Legacy Foundation for a term expiring September 30th of 2020, and appointment of a president for a 1-year term expiring September the 30th of 2019. And council, for your consideration to fill the vacancy, I'd nominate Ms. Dee Cook with a term to end on September the 30th of 2020. For the current council, or the current members of the Legacy Foundation, Mr. Sonny Sharma as president, and Mr. Paul Licari and Mr. Brent Leftwich, whose term will end September 30th of 2020. I'll make the motion. Do I have a second? And if you'll vote at this time, please. And it's going to pass unanimously on a 7-0 vote. Thank you. Now, going back to item number 2, review the consent agenda. Item number 3, consent agenda. All the items on the consent agenda are routine business. We are going to pull tonight item 3A. 3A will be considered separately after we take item 3B through 3D. So at this time, I'd ask if anyone has any questions on B through D.
Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve consent agendas B through D.
Second.
Got a motion by Gandhi. I've got a second by Mitchell. You'll vote at this time. Why don't we go do a hand vote? And it passes. It's a 7-0 vote. We're now going to return to item number 3A. Bridget, I think you're going to step out. Item number 3A is going to be considered separately. 3A, consideration of an action on authorizing execution of a professional services contract with Aguirre and Fields LP in the amount of $63,382 for the Oyster Creek Airport Maintenance Bridge Replacement Design and Construction Phase Services, CIP-AP 1901. And we have with us our very capable Jorge Alba, Senior Engineering Manager. Jorge.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, council members. Good evening. The bridge, the airport maintenance bridge, is a bridge that was built back in the 1950s, and it's a wood bridge that has been in operations in the 1950s, as I mentioned before. And it's a bridge that the airport used to bring maintenance equipment across from Oyster Creek, basically to mow the lawn and to maintain electronic aviation equipment that they have in the safety zone area of the airport. So it's a very important bridge for the airport. Unfortunately, during Harvey, again, the bridge experienced severe damage, actually due to the velocity of the currents in Oyster Creek and the debris that the Oyster Creek was carrying. The bridge was moved more than 10 inches from the base, from the base of the bridge. The city got the bridge inspected by a professional structural engineer in December 2017, and the concept of the structural engineer was the bridge has to be removed and abandoned because it wasn't safe to carry equipment to the other side. So that's when it was decided that it was necessary to maintain or to replace the bridge, actually. So early in this year, we invite several engineering companies basically to give us statements to see how we select to perform the bridge design, and we selected Aguirre and Fields, which is a company located in the Sugar Land area. Actually, they have been in the Jeff Prittle area. We have Mr. Oscar Aguirre here present today. His office has been in the Jeff Prittle area for years, and now they are actually moving to new territory. So they are going to continue here in the Sugar Land area. So they gave us a very interesting service agreement with them for $63,382, and it is for the design of we are going to design a concrete bridge that the airports can use for maintenance. It's going to be a concrete bridge with a single span, so it won't have any impact on the water surface elevation of Oyster Creek, either upstream or downstream of the bridge. And it's going to allow them to even carry or to transfer heavy equipment. So it's going to be an HS20 bridge, concrete bridge that they are going to use for maintenance, and hopefully will last many more years as the original bridge lasted. Any question?
Any questions of Jorge? Got a motion by Mitchell, second by McCutcheon. You'll vote this time, please. And it's a 6-0 vote with Councilmember Young absent. We're going to move now to item number 4, workshop. 4A, review of and discussion on the City of Sugar Land and Homeowners Association's Responsibility Strategic Project. We've got with us Eric Oscarson, our Assistant Director of Public Works. Eric.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. Tonight, we'd like to review and discuss the City HOA Maintenance Responsibility Strategic Project. Say that 3 times fast. Tonight, we want to go through some background of how we came to come to this strategic project, what the project goals and scope are, what staff has been working on over the last year, some gaps we've identified in some of our policies, the project governance moving forward, and what our next steps are. So some of you may recall back in 2017, we did an update to our streetscape policy. This was tied to some annexation things, as well as adjusting the landscape reimbursement rate. During that time, when we met with HOAs about some adjustments to the rate and some other things, we had some negative feedback from the HOAs. Also in 2017, we met with some of the HOAs regarding some aesthetic bridge maintenance, which is still up in the air and we need to continue to discuss. And then there's some other small items that we continuously have calls from HOAs on. And so what we decided was in FY 2018, we identified this as a strategic project to move forward and help clean up some of these issues. So the city has many policies and ordinances that impact how we maintain and keep up the beauty of the right-of-way. The streetscape policy is one, the tree ordinance is another one, and we have multiple other ones. So this strategic project was created to identify areas of clarification regarding the maintenance responsibilities. So what are the project goals and scope? So the project goals are to recommit to the Sugar Land Way. And how are we going to do that? We're going to maintain aging infrastructure and facilities at the highest level expected by the Sugar Land residents, including getting the highest value for the tax dollar paid. We're going to be constantly improving the appearance of the community, and we want to create pride in our hometown. And we also want to make sure that we engage residents, and we'll get into that a little bit further. And one of the main goals of this is to provide equity and maintenance to all the HOAs. This is the project scope. I'm not going to read it all, but in summary, it pretty much states that there's a significant amount of maintenance that goes into beautifying the right-of-way, and it's all of our responsibilities to make sure that we do that. And how are we going to do that working together? So what has staff been up to over the last year? So over the last year, staff has been gathering all the deed restriction covenants from all the HOAs and POAs throughout the city. It's been a very long task, but we've gathered them all. And we've also identified all the documents regarding annexation for the entire city. And to get a good visual representation of that, here's a map of the city. We currently have over 140 different subdivisions that are maintained by 24 separate management groups. And each of them have their own set of deed restrictions and covenants. So we have a lot of different moving pieces that we're trying to work with. This is a picture of Sugar Land with its ETJ. That small purple outlined area is actually the original city limits of the city of Sugar Land. So we've grown over the years, and we've grown a lot through annexation. So annexation includes annexation of subdivisions. So annexation agreements over the years have changed. They were simple ordinances at some point that simply said, we will provide you the same services that we provide the rest of the city. Or they're complex SPAs like we have with Greatwood and New Territory. So there's a lot of different, again, moving parts with this section as well. So what staff did is we started reviewing all these different HOAs, HOA agreements, all the different annexation documents, and we started to look at our policies and ordinances that have direct impact on these HOAs and POAs. And we started to identify gaps in our policies where we might possibly provide a service to one over another or provide different service levels. And so we created a list of these gaps that we've identified. I'm not going to read through the list, just highlight a couple of them. Landscaping and landscape reimbursement was one that we've talked about a lot. Streetlights, drainage, aesthetic upgrades. If those aesthetic upgrades have to do with bridges, it could be pavement, it could be sidewalk. But these are just some of the ones that we've identified, and we feel that we're going to be identifying more as we move through this process. So how do we want to move forward with the project? Staff is recommending currently using the Finance Audit Committee to provide direction from the council level. The reason we want to move forward with this is because decisions coming out of this have direct implications on maintenance responsibilities, which have a direct implication on the budget. Decisions made in here could affect maintenance of bridges, and that would be a significant cost, so we feel finance audit would be a good place to start with that. They would be tasked with providing input on discussion items, and then they provide direction on policy and ordinance changes. The second part of the governance is a recommendation to create a citizen task force. We're recommending having a diverse sample of HOA and POA members and also non-members, meaning people that are not part of an HOA or POA from across the city. We are recommending a 13-member task force, or as determined by council, if we need it to be more or less, depending on how many people we have apply and how big of a group we want to bring in. And we're recommending members be included from large HOAs to small HOAs, POAs, and then again the non-members. So previously we reviewed this with the Finance Audit Committee back in December. And then moving forward with this project, we're going to meet with Parks Board. The S in Parks is for streetscape, so this has a direct impact on that. We will be asking council to review applications for a citizen task force and provide feedback. And in the upcoming months, we'll create a task force, and we want to begin monthly meetings. We're anticipating about 12 to 18 months to complete the entire process to review the streetscape policy and all the different areas that we think we're going to touch on. And for that, I'll take any clarifying questions.
Clarifying questions, if council remember, we'll do the clarifying questions. Once those have been answered, then the discussion among council members can take place. This is a workshop item, so there is no action. It's just basically direction from council. Bridget.
Thank you. Would you mind reviewing the purpose of the Citizen Task Force is just a temporary task force to help create the policy?
So the intent of the Citizen Task Force is to provide direction on laying out any new policy changes. So take the streetscape policy if we need to make changes to it, if we need to make any changes to ordinance. Ordinance is based on information that we've gathered on the differences of the maintenance responsibilities from one HOA to another. So if we see that there's a need for a change or creation of a new policy that comes out of these meetings, then that's the direction we would go. And once that's complete, we will bring forward a new streetscape policy, any changes to any ordinances at the completion of and then that would complete the task force.
Thank you.
Ramesh.
Thank you, Mayor. Do you anticipate the policy addressing the detention ponds, aesthetic lakes, bulkheads?
It's definitely a possibility. I mean, the intent is to bring up things like drainage. Drainage was listed on one of those,
right?
Where either an HOA or the city does maintenance or maintains those. Those are definitely things that if there's discrepancies or things that we needed to make sure that they're addressed specifically, we would address them in that.
But we're not limiting the evaluation. I mean, this could be as broad as we want it. It could cover
all of those things that you've mentioned, plus anything else that may overlap and fit within those confines, right?
Yeah, the gap was simply, the gap analysis that was on there was just what staff identified.
Right.
We understand that bringing in the citizen task force is going to be things from the HOA side, and we're open to expanding it,
Yeah, I just wouldn't limit it to what you had. I think the point would be to have the input of the members that you described, and I would imagine they're going to bring you things that we didn't even think of. So, okay, good. And, Mayor, I'm sorry, one question. Is this going to be a task force as appointed by council?
Correct.
Okay. Thank you.
Amy.
Thank you. Several questions, actually. Why 13-member task force?
So 13 was the task force we did with IWRP. So speaking with the members that are responsible for the IWRP task force, with Brian and Katie, it was a good number that they have identified as being able to get good group discussion. It's not too large, it's not too small. But again, we're open to it because we know there's a lot of different partners within the city, so it might need to be a little bit larger. And we're open to any direction that that council has.
And then do you have a breakdown of like the number of people from each group? Like large HOA would have more people on it than a small with some. I'm trying to figure out what your picture of this task force is.
So the picture of the task force, we wouldn't have multiple members from one HOA. It would probably be one member from each HOA that was picked. So like from a large HOA, there would be a representative from FCCA. Or a representative from New Territory. We'd have representatives from small HOAs, so there'd be equal representation from a Sugar Mill or a Ganaway Lake. FCPOA could be involved. So we're not looking for multiple members. At least in our eyes, there would be just one member, but we wanted to get a good cross-section of the entire city.
And when you say a member, do you mean a member of the board? Or I live in First Colony, for example. Is it anybody who lives in First Colony could be a member of the large HOA?
So the large HOA would be somebody that would probably be on their board, whereas you, as a resident of the HOA, just being a resident living there, would be considered a non-member.
And how many HOAs, large, small, and POAs do we have?
So we have, for large HOAs, what we consider large HOAs, we have what would be considered FCCA, New Territory, Greatwood, Telfair. I think those are the big four, being large in size. Sugar Creek. Small HOAs, we have over 20. So we wouldn't be able to get equal, again, it's.
That's where I'm going with this. So how do you determine, do we make sure every large HOA has one, and then that leaves 8 more slots? And then how many POAs are there? How do the HOAs get their voices heard? And then how do we allow citizens to have their voices heard if there are, from what you just said, about 25 different HOAs, that's not including POAs?
Correct.
So that's where I'm trying to figure out what's the thought process.
So the thought process is that obviously we can't have a citizen task force of over 30 or 40 if we want to make it efficient and effective. The intent would be that these members of these groups are active in their community, that are active in going out in there and spreading the word and being representative of their entire area. So if we have a member of these different areas, it may need to be 15, it may need to be 17 members, but each HOA may or may not have direct representation, and that's something that City Council, as they review the applications, will have to make a decision on. And the number of task force members is something that Council would have to eventually make a decision on. We recommend 13 just because it worked well with IWRP. But again, non-members, it's going to have to be an even distribution, but unfortunately not everyone is going to have a seat at the table.
I'm a little concerned. Well, that's a comment, not a clarifying question. Okay. Those are my questions. Thank you.
Jennifer.
Where would the task force committee, where would that be held? Would that be held here at City Hall?
That's to be determined. It could be here, it could be at Public Works, it could be wherever is convenient.
Just as long as there would be extra chairs in the room for citizens to attend if they wanted to, so they could hear the discussion. Okay, thank you.
Steve.
Thank you, Mayor. Eric, would you say that one of the possible outcomes of this would be that the city would take on maintenance or of anything that the HOAs are now paying for?
It could be. It could be. And that's one of the things that needs to be discussed is someone's paying for it. If you're paying it through your HOA dues or you're paying it through your taxes to the city, somebody's paying for it. The intent of this discussion is to determine where that lies.
So, do you anticipate some way to prevent the shifting of maintenance of amenities in big HOAs onto the tax burden of the people without HOAs?
Yeah, and I think that's the intent of the Finance Audit Committee, to provide direction on how we're steering this committee. Is there needs to be an even distribution of those maintenance costs. And so is there a specific policy in place or direction in place on this group as of now? No, because it hasn't been created. But there will be direction not to have a complete flip. And that's why we want to make sure we have plenty of non-HOA members, people that aren't directly on the board or may not be a part of an HOA, because that tax burden, if it shifts off an individual HOA, shifts on the entire tax burden of the entire city. So we need to be very conscious of that.
Yeah, I think that would be problematic. Okay, thank you, Mayor.
I think, and let me kind of redirect the discussion to the dais with the council members. It seems to me that the way it's been structured is the first order of business is, does everybody agree that the Finance and Audit Committee is going to be the council representation of how this committee is going to get structured? That's the first order of business, is to have that discussion. And then I think the second part of that from the council members is, to use Councilmember Mitchell as an example, is to then take, for that committee then to take those specific requests, like, does that provide for adequate representation of all the citizens through their POAs, HOAs, or other? Are we comfortable with them taking that up, coming to a resolution of what that would be, coming up with a process to select those members, and then making that recommendation to council? Bridget?
I'd just like to clarify that what we're talking about here is anything that's in the city's right-of-way. Is that correct, Eric? We're not talking about clubhouses and
Correct.
Different amenities.
Yes.
It's just like the landscaping medians in our city streets and bridges that are owned by the city. Okay, so I just wanted to clarify that.
Mayor, I'll start. I'm good with turning it over to the Finance and Audit Committee. I think that's an efficient way of handling it.
Carol?
Yes, I serve on the Finance Audit Committee, and when staff presented this to the committee last month, the committee concurred with taking on this task.
Okay, everybody good? Eric, I think you got the direction, Jennifer. Okay. Item number 6, City Council City Manager Reports. 6A, Council Member Reports. Amy, start with you.
Happily, I have nothing to report, except Mr. Patterson, thank you for being here tonight. Thank you for your service. This actually was the highlight of the meeting, was recognizing your many, many years of service to our community. You truly are an asset, and you will be missed.
Thank you so much. I'm just going to the back.
No report, Mayor.
Bridget?
You and I attended the Lake Point HOA meeting last night. That was a very good meeting. Today we had the intergovernmental committee meeting, and welcome everybody to please attend the Sugar Land Cultural Arts Foundation Gala this Saturday, and you'll see James Patterson in action when you're there.
Jennifer? Steve? Carol?
I attended the Sugar Land Rotary Club meeting, and Tim Kaminsky gave a talk on the Fort Bend History Association.
I had attended the Houston Galveston Area Council today. We had a very robust discussion about our state legislature and what they may or may not do with regard to local control. It seems pretty clear to me in the Council of Urban Governments and Texas Municipal League, which represents cities, as well as HGAC, which are the Metropolitan Planning Organization, everybody's resolute in maintaining local control, maintaining control of our local tax rate, and the state mind their own business and do their own business. So that's kind of what I'd report on. Item number B, city manager report. Jennifer.
Just a reminder that city offices will be closed in observation of Martin Luther King Day on Monday, January 21st. That's
Do we
it.
have a motion to adjourn? There we go. 6:20. God, look at you guys. Kavita, Sean, thanks for coming. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Miss B, good job, man. We got out there in record time. Not even an hour. I mean, we keep Porter going on vacation for a while, and then we get all the fishing on you.
Yeah, there you go.
That's a good thing. Welcome back, Steve.
Thank you.
Good job.